Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. And let me say in advance that nothing on this channel should be taken as legal or medical advice. Because we do have a medical topic tonight talking about fibromyalgia.
I do
And
miss it.
all
Sorry.
anybody here is going to give you is just anecdotal things. No one here is qualified to give any medical advice.
No, not in any way, shape, or form. And you should never take medical advice from a stoner. I'm talking about myself, and I miss your old disclaimers. Purple.
Okay, so for those who aren't familiar with it, fibromyalgia is a musculoskeletal disorder that is mostly the main symptoms are chronic pain and chronic fatigue, but it's got a whole list of other things that wind up going along with it. Anxiety, migraines, irritable bowel syndrome, muscle stiffness, and it's quite a list that's associated. One of the big problems that people who suffer with it have to deal with is that none of these things show up in any kind of medical scan. So most often they're trying to tell doctors something's wrong and the doctors aren't finding anything in the scans, and the doctors are often either thinking they're faking it or trying to tell them that it's psychosomatic rather than giving them any prescriptions that would help.
Yikes! 23 years ago, I dated a young lady who was 10 years older than me, and she had fibromyalgia. And the doctors told her all the time, "You're lying, you're lying," and she eventually was diagnosed with it. But this was, yikes, 23, 24 years ago.
I think it's pretty nasty that doctors would actually say something like that to her.
Yeah, my brother has it, and he was seeing doctors for I don't know how many years before he came across a doctor who was actually familiar with fibromyalgia and took him seriously.
Well, a lot of the time they think you're drug seeking because it's treated with some heavy stuff. Like I was saying earlier, the stuff I take for my lungs, like you have to show ID. And every time I get a new doctor, I get an x-ray and a mini physical just to prove that I have what's warranted for these drugs.
Yep. Yeah, it makes it especially difficult because they don't have a test for it.
They can't take your previous doctor's records as truth?
Yeah, but the problem is that somebody can be in chronic pain for years and not have anything that shows up on any of the scans.
Doctor, how many doctors have you ever met a doctor that kind of denied who you were? I have. I've had plenty of doctors that are like, "Oh, it can't be that bad." Then they take an x-ray and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
No, actually, I haven't.
I've been getting the same treatment since I was in the 6th grade. So I like when it comes to my condition, I'm like a doctor. I know what I need and what levels, where my oxygen levels need to be, and blah blah blah.
Yep.
It's impossible when I meet someone new and I have to explain all of this. It's like meeting someone all over again and having to reintroduce yourself.
Yeah, and with some doctors, it's actually worse on you if you go in there knowing what you need. Because if you know too much, they think you just read up on it.
Yeah, you're well rehearsed is the expression.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I can understand how someone with chronic pain is like, no, it's this and it's this.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know anything about fibromyalgia.
Well, I only know about it secondhand, of course, but just seeing how it goes with my brother, that after just a few hours he's worn out. And he used to do the same kind of stuff I did, the home repairs, that he used to be out there, 10, 12 hours hauling lumber and tools and whatever. And just, now he can barely handle doing a desk job.
Chronic pain is the worst. I've watched people deteriorate where I've seen people with MS go downhill over like a 40-year period. It's the worst.
Yeah, chronic issues really suck.
Yeah, no problem, Commander. None of us are actually experiencing ourselves, so.
I'm just well medicated, perp, which gives me the appearance of health.
Yeah, I'm still working on medications. I had a sleep med that we weren't sure if it was working, so the doctor gave me a higher dose. And I took that last night, and I think I slept a bit better, but then I also just felt groggy all day. Like I couldn't shake it off after I got up.
Ugh. And after one period, the Los Angeles Kings are losing to the Edmonton Oilers. But don't worry, kids, because we're up one game on the Edmonton Oilers. Back to you, perp. Jenny, how are the Milwaukee Bucks do?
Well, they have won their game last night, and they are now leading the series 3-2.
I can't pronounce his name, but that young man looks like my nephew, and it trips me out.
Giannopoulos or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a fairly impressive kid.
He's a beast.
His first year when he got here, he could not speak English at all, and now he's perfectly fluent. That's pretty smart.
What country is he from?
Greece.
Well, to be fair, every word that we speak is a derivative of his language. I'm kidding. My Big Fat Greek Wedding is a great movie. You should watch it if you've never seen it.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's a feel-good movie. It's no explosions, nothing in space. It's a funny movie. I won't give it away then.
Okay.
No, but as somebody who has helped people learn to speak English, I give respect to anyone who learns our language that fast. But if you paid me enough money, I would learn to speak Greek. If you paid me a couple mil, I'll speak Greek in a year. I'd work my tail off.
I'm sure that's a motivator.
You pay me a large amount of money and put me somewhere. I'll speak that language a year later.
What's actually really encouraging about the Bucks is that one of their other star guy, Chris Middleton, is out. Has been for all the playoffs so far. I think he made first and second games of the previous series, and then he was injured with some kind of they called it ACL or MCL sprain, which I think means it only stretched and didn't rip itself off.
That's still awful. Like to the average, to the not superhuman people, that'll put me in a wheelchair.
Oh yeah, that's a nasty injury.
Yeah, I did that once. I ripped the Achilles tendon.
Oh,
and
I feel that.
For you folks that don't know, the ACL and MCL are these two tendons that form an X behind the kneecap. It's further back in the knee, and they tie the knee together to not allow it to shift out from underneath itself. Okay, and when one of those pops, you're in a world of hurt.
Oh,
okay.
You're not going to be walking for a while.
I was getting it confused. You're talking about the ones behind the kneecap. I ripped the one behind the ankle.
Ah.
Yeah, that's a bad one. That's like one of the major tendons in the body.
Yeah, that's very painful and will keep you from walking for a while.
Oh my gosh.
I've heard stories of people who have broken their heel bone, which that's attached to, like in the middle, and the bone and the tendon shoot up into your leg because of the tension is always on, and now that there's nothing holding it, it pulls it on up, and that in the OR, it takes a couple people to yank it far enough so that they could put the screws into the heel.
Oh God, that sounds horrible.
Oh, bye snack. I was about to have a snack in about 15 minutes. Bye.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to have my dinner here.
No, I feel those injuries. Like I can't. Isaiah used to watch Ridiculousness on MTV where it was just people biffing and getting hurt. I can't watch that. I can't watch people falling off of ledges, people getting hit in the head with baseballs. Like I can't watch that stuff.
The falling ones always bother me. The ones that fall backwards, when they land on their neck and shoulders.
And you know,
that's a nasty fucking break.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Liam Neeson's wife died from a head injury. She fell. She bonked her head just like everybody else does. Didn't realize that she was bleeding internally, and she died within 6 or 7 hours.
Well, that's what got that Bob Saget too.
Mm-hmm.
You get some kind of head injury and dead.
That's why head injuries are no joke. Even here, if people get in a fight, the cops will ask someone, like, did they punch the person in the head? Because it's a whole different charge.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm not even saying this to be old man Wolfie. I'll go get the person, but I know a black albino that did 10 years in prison for this person attacked him and he punched him in his head repeatedly and the person died.
Wow.
And he ended up doing time for it. This was like 25 years ago. But yeah, he ended up and it was self-defense. They were like, oh, blah blah blah, but he ended that person's life.
Well, and from what you've said, it sounds like California's rather stricter about things like that than most places I've known of.
We're
as
not
far as people going to jail for bar brawls and such.
That's why the Will Smith thing was so hardcore, because if I had walked up to a stranger and slapped them, I would do at least 6 months in jail. But I'm just a commoner. Middle class nobody, but we have hardcore laws here where you're not and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You're not allowed to touch people unwarranted, I think that should be a law everywhere. Don't walk up and don't touch people.
I wouldn't argue against it.
I think it's weird that people would fight for that. Like, I believe in privacy and bodily autonomy. Like, you can leave me alone just as much as giving me attention, In Oregon, they have fist fighting laws where if you get in a fight and you have a potential of doing 5 years in prison. And Mississippi has the same laws as well.
Pardon my yawn. Mississippi and Oregon are the same, huh? It's hard to believe.
I know. I asked about the Mississippi thing, and it was just they were tired. People get a lot of fist fights.
Yeah, that's another thing that the recent wave of legislation has been showing. That a bunch of things that I thought were just in the southern states are affecting a lot of the northern states too.
I must admit that my bigotry or bias that I grew up with was that if you lived in the South, the crime was worse there because people go crazy as it got hotter. Mostly because as it gets hotter, I get crazy, and I assumed everyone else is like that.
Texas is like that too, though. It's so humid and gross. Like, I live on the West Coast, so we have a dry heat. The more you go inland, it's gross. So by the time you get to a place like Georgia, someone like me, like we're sweating when we get out of the shower, you know?
Well, I knew most of the bigotry was, connected to just the poor grade of education. Because you could just look at the charts and you could see that, the states that are the worst for that are also the states that rank the lowest in test scores for any subject you want to name.
Well, Perp, you're going to get hit by another big one.
Another storm coming through?
Yeah, fairly soon.
But also, like you said, there's generational bigotry. But also, I'm gonna say something controversial because it's fight night. I have something weird to say about the South, is that they are not much more nice than people in the North. And even though it's passive aggressive and it's fake, even if they don't like you, they will be polite to you. And like, try that in New York. Try that in Boston. I've been there, and like, so people are much more down home in the South.
Yeah, that actually annoys me even more. I would much rather somebody just spit in my face than, try to be polite to me when I'm in the room and then talk about me as soon as I leave.
I agree with you, but like my experience was always getting gas. Okay. I would get gas and some whomping truck would pull up with a giant Confederate flag. Every single one of those people were nice to me. This was when I traveled from coast to coast, from Santa Monica to Georgia all the way up to Maine. That was 2001, 2002. So this was a while ago.
They weren't openly harassing you.
Nobody did. I felt, as someone from the West Coast, I saw with my own two eyes, like, like real Confederate flags, or this is the signs that say this is America. Or I didn't know that Pennsylvania was so hardcore KKK. Like I walked in, they're oof.
I didn't know about that either.
But again, people were like they were either indifferent or they were like, really polite to me. When I went north, like I couldn't wear my cowboy hat. And this was 20 years ago because all of a sudden I became a target.
Of course, Will, if you did get beat up down in the South, I'd have to wonder if it was because of your skin tone or because you had California plates.
That's more Utah. I got pulled over 7 times in Utah, and the cop flat out told me, he's like, "Oh, we don't care about your race. We hate your state."
Well, it's pretty much a given that, cops are always going to stop a car with out-of-state plates if they can.
But I've learned, like, and I'm not even saying this to be Captain Obvious, but don't carry drugs. Don't carry drugs, and you'll be fine. Like, you can pull me over all you want. My license is valid. I have great insurance.
Yeah, if you don't have drugs and you don't have any booze in the passenger compartment, then there's not too much they're going to do. They'll probably just write you a ticket, send you on your way.
Stool, you've been watching Strange New Worlds. But that's, I got really mad when Chris Rock, he made this video about how to not get shot when you get pulled over as a black man. But then when I watched it, I was like, oh, that's how I act anyways. But I'm old school. If you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to hide, but people are searched just because of their color, and that is BS.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Mage.
Hi, Stool.
Meiji.
How's it going for you?
Just finished dinner.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What'd you have?
Mac and cheese. My grandmother's recipe.
Awesome.
I'm actually trying to eat mine while I chat here. I've got a huge taco salad.
Oh. You're making me hungry. I had a breakfast burrito, but I ate it before I went to the pot shop. And yes, Stool, I do have a Nurse Chapel uniform. I have the old school and the new school one.
Yeah, the recipe calls for an entire block of extra sharp cheddar.
Oh,
Do you wear the uniform?
yes, Jenny. My OnlyFans will be dropping soon.
Okay.
Kidding.
I want to see. I'm just
Okay,
thinking.
wait.
Can
No,
you-
I gotta go back to the extra sharp cheddar. That's far
Yeah,
more
exactly.
interesting.
Because I eat extra sharp cheddar. Actually, it's a love of mine.
Yeah,
Oh, sharp
the
cheddar's
Syngenta
my
brand.
favorite, and the sharper the better.
Mine too. Mine too.
Once in a while, I can find this ultra sharp cheddar, but it's like they don't stock it all the time. It just shows up a few times a year.
Not sure I've ever seen ultra sharp.
I
Go look for that.
bought some cheese ones at a local cheese specialty place that they had gotten from a local cheese maker who only makes this stuff on rare occasions. It is aged 25 years, and it costs like $35 a pound, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I bought like a quarter pound, but it was so good. It was so sharp. You start to cut it with a knife and it would crumble.
Yep, that's the whole thing with the cheddar. The longer it's aged, the sharper it gets.
And it was really great. I enjoyed it.
Oh, you're making me hungry.
Yeah, that was one of my Yule presents from Sloth Girl. Was she had bought me a block of cheddar from a local dairy place, and it was aged 8 years. So yeah, you couldn't even cut it because it just crumbled under the knife.
Where you guys live, people appreciate cheese.
Yep.
Well, yeah,
Not around
Wisconsin.
here.
Yep.
Although don't get us wrong, we'll still put slaps a piece of Kraft horrible stuff on a burger.
Have you ever?
I don't
I won't.
consider that cheese.
Have you ever had Tillamook? It's from Oregon.
Uh-huh.
It's so good. I'm biased because I went on their factory tour.
Have you ever had Colby cheese?
No, maybe, but nothing I can readily identify.
Colby's kind of in the cheddar family, but it's different enough that it's considered a unique cheese.
Yeah.
It was
Colby is
here
basically
Colby,
a very
Wisconsin.
mild cheddar. Yeah.
Don't talk over me.
Sorry.
It was invented here in Colby, Wisconsin, and
Oh.
they're trying to establish specific criteria for what qualifies as Colby and what doesn't.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I did not know that was invented in Wisconsin.
Yes, it was.
This whole conversation is reminding me of an old Married with Children episode where Al drove to Wisconsin for the stinkiest cheesecake ever made. I would do that. I would drive to Wisconsin for a cheesecake. I'm that kind of guy too. I don't have a Dodge, but I do it.
Cheesecake doesn't stink.
It shouldn't
Jenny.
stink.
Jenny, it's Hollywood, it's
Yeah,
lights,
know.
glitz, and
Yeah.
camera tricks,
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
wrong kind of cheese entirely.
I'm not-
Cheesecake is pie pretending to be cake.
Oh, now I have a sweet tooth because because pot's legal here. I love cheesecake. We have at my local store they make cheesecake cookies.
Yum.
Oh, they just make you they make you gain weight is what they really do.
That was one of the weird shortages we wound up with. Was through the last holiday season. They were asking people not to make cheesecake because there was such a shortage of cream cheese.
I've been hearing about this baby formula shortage.
Baby
I
formula.
didn't know you could make a baby from a formula.
It is cruel how overpriced baby formula is. Every time I would go to the store, I would always say, I don't know how anyone can afford this.
Yep. Yeah, I went through several years of dealing with that with infants and just being able to afford the formula being a strain.
Apparently, some people have formulas that the non-dairy formulas for kids that can't handle dairy, and they can't find it.
That's the thing I love most about capitalism is the more essential a particular item is, the more it costs.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah,
It's a
the stuff
dickhead
you
move.
can't do without, they know they can charge whatever they want.
Right now, gas is $6.19 if you pay with cash, and $6.29 if you don't.
Oh. So you actually are paying over $6 a gallon now, huh?
Oh yeah, I sent you a thing yesterday, but I had to take a video because our signs the lights are rotating, so you can't necessarily take a picture of it.
Mm.
But our prices jumped today.
Yeah,
which
ours is still just under 4 here.
Oh, it's 409 here.
It might actually be over 4 here now. I haven't been out since Tuesday.
Matter of fact, I took a picture. I paid $80.07 for 12 gallons, 12.712 gallons.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to drive very often anymore. It's just too expensive.
Well, price of gas aside, I'm not going to be able to drive much because I don't know how much longer my car is going to survive. So I also
Gasoline
don't know if I can
prices,
scrape up enough to buy another clunker.
gasoline prices per liter is $1.35 US, and it's worldwide.
Say that again, please.
Gasoline per liter is $1.35 worldwide.
So, okay, so liters to gallons is multiplied by like 3.8. I can't really do the math here.
Alexa,
I'm still
what's
kind
the
of
difference
dragging
between a
because it's
liter and
like
a
I can't.
gallon?
1 liter minus 1 gallon is approximately minus 2.7854 liters.
2.574 liters.
No, that's not right.
2.641 blah 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 liter is 1 gallon. So basically a quarter or a gallon. A little over.
Well, the A word isn't always right. She's more of a yes or a no kind of girl.
I just looked up the converter.
That's why constant reliance on technology is scary.
Okay, it depends which way you're going, but yeah, it's 3.785 liters to 1 U.S. gallon.
Oh, they scored again.
So yeah, a little under 3.8.
Oof. Looks like we might be going to a game 7. It's early though. It's still early. So
course,
yeah.
Mhm.
If anyone's noticed, I haven't gone to Ventura in a while. Because gas is out of control here.
So basically a little over $5 a gallon.
Yeah, so that's worldwide average. So
Well,
we're
they're
still on the low end.
talking that it's going to peak for an average in America at around $5 a gallon.
Yep. Yeah, well, we're on the low end. Will's probably where it's going to be the highest in the whole country.
It's been consistently over $6 for 3 weeks now.
Will, would you ask Alexa what is the current price on a barrel of oil, crude oil?
Alexa,
Hey,
what's the
Commander.
current price of crude oil?
Hi, how you doing?
As of close on Thursday, May 12th, crude oil futures traded at $107 US per barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange, down 0.06%.
It's a $1.07 a barrel.
A buck 07?
Yeah.
$107 a gallon, a barrel.
Yeah.
Okay, and gas is how much? $5?
Where I live, it's
Yeah.
$6.29.
Worldwide
like the
average around $5 a gallon.
Okay.
It looks like
Now,
the cheapest
in
where I am is
2008, when the last time was, we were paying over $4 a gallon. The cost of crude oil was $180 a barrel.
Yep.
Why is it costing even more when the barrel
Because
is
the
even
oil
less?
companies want
Price
Republicans
gouging.
to win the
Yep. And
election.
at the same time, the oil company CEOs are getting like $400 million bonuses.
The oil companies are showing the biggest profits they've ever had in the month of March. I forget which one it was.
Yep.
Announced that they had the biggest profits ever in their history, $160 billion a month. Well, profit, not gross. And that the previous March was something like 100 or less than 100. I forget. But it's just grotesquely overpriced. This is all 100% greed on the part of the oil companies that they're
It's not just
purposely
oil.
doing this.
Yeah, it's not just oil doing this either.
No, it's a whole bunch of stuff. It's like they got together and said, "Hey, let's get rid of Joe Biden by fucking everybody over with high prices on shit that we don't have to really charge that anyways, but we're going to."
Yeah.
And that is a big part of it to make Biden look bad.
I just want to say really quick, hi, Commander 401. How are you?
Blue. Well, kind of a light
I just
teal.
wanted to properly say hello, I know how I used to hang out in the chat, and then I showed up one day when everyone thought I was a woman.
You know what's the most reliable predictor of elections is gas prices. Historically, if the gas price is going up in the weeks before the election, the Republicans, if the gas price for some reason goes down in the weeks before the election, the Democrats win.
Oh, wow.
Because that's the thing that the average person, most uses to judge the economy, about whether or not the economy is doing well.
We're screwed here then.
Well, so gas prices for me are $4.38 at the cheapest.
What?
Gas prices where I am went up 25 cents in a day. The day that all the NATO countries said that they were committed to basically cutting back on the consumption
of Russian oil.
Yeah, well, of course, the oil companies are blaming it on that too.
I'm just tired of them blaming the president, whoever the president is. I don't care if it's Democratic or Republican. It just shows so much absolutely gross ignorance about the economy and the world in general, is blaming the president for the price of gas. I mean, that's just juvenile stupidity.
But Jenny, the average American,
they think the president,
stupid. Yeah, they think the president has way more power than the president does.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they think the president's got a lot of control over the economy, and really, he can't do much of anything. And most people don't even realize that the president can't even introduce a bill into Congress. He has to get a congressman to do it. He can recommend they do certain things, but that's as much as he can do.
That's correct. The House of Representatives has all the responsibility for establishing budgets. It says so in the Constitution.
With all this talk, we're still not talking about getting away from using gas.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the people who have their big SUVs complaining a lot about how gas is too expensive. I only get 8 miles of the gallon. Well, I get 30. What's your problem?
Yeah, I saw a Twitter thing of this guy moaning about how much the gas was, and it's like he's filling up what was a freaking highway coach. That he had what was essentially a Greyhound bus decked out as a camper. And I'm sorry, if you can afford a custom camper like that, I don't have a lot of sympathy for you as far as, not being able to handle your budget.
And hello, can you hear me? I had an audio problem Godless sewing.
Okay.
I'm sorry I didn't properly say hello.
Oh,
Yep,
no
we hear you
worries.
now.
You're actually pretty loud.
Yeah.
I have to adjust it because I checked to see whether or not you know what it was, and it was so low compared to you guys, and then I went and I checked and it was
You just muted yourself.
Yep. Yeah, you cut off before the end of your sentence there.
Sorry, I was rolling a J and I
I
didn't
was
want
trying to
everyone.
adjust my audio.
Yay, Windows.
Stool, if you're still around, you should hop in. You racist?
No, he's a sexist.
Yeah, there's Diana.
Hey.
Hello. How you guys? Let me turn off the machine in my bedroom. I'll be right back.
Is that better? Am I still too loud?
Hey, you sound great.
That's good.
You sound good.
There it goes.
Okay,
Okay.
they still are paying about $1.40 more than we are.
Ah,
It's good to know you can suffer with me, Stool.
bleh.
But when I looked today, I was shocked that gas is still $6.29. Because
Yeah.
it's consistently been like that. Like it goes up and down, but it's been at 6 for a while now.
I don't know. I don't see it coming down anytime soon, or am I full of it?
Like Jenny was saying,
I
this is
hope it
all
does.
political. It's all political. Sorry, Commander.
What kind of delay do I have? I must have a huge delay.
No, you don't. You probably have you probably have the UK delay.
It's kind of impossible for any of us to tell what kind of delay you have. Only you can do that.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the mouth here. Oh, yeah, there's a huge delay. I'm going to fix it.
I don't know how to adjust for such things.
Oh, and turn on some lights. There we go.
Do you know in America, hockey is still the only sport that I know of that you can legally get away with punching your opponent in the face and still be allowed to stay on the court, field, or ice?
Well, isn't that a feature of the game? I mean, shit. I'll tell the old joke. I went to a fight once and a hockey game broke out.
They in the late 90s they tried to tone it down, and then 20 something years later it's back to old school, like 1980s hockey. I like it.
I remember there was a video game in the arcades where the part that you liked the most in terms of the game was when the players threw off their gloves and started punching each other.
Absolutely.
American football should be played in full armor and use clubs.
I have a mace. I actually have a mace because they passed this ordinance where in my town where you can own a gun, but you can't shoot it. So it's some weird thing where you can own a gun, but you can't necessarily own the bullets. Like you can own the bullets, but you can't shoot a gun unless you're a police officer. Okay. So at the city council, we were like, what can we do? And I jokingly said, I'm gonna buy a mace. And someone got me a mace.
We're talking about the spiky ball on a chain, right?
I'll go get it.
Spear might be more effective.
Go to a Renaissance fair and get a bunch of those things. I don't know any Renaissance fairs operating right now.
Probably wouldn't get a very good one though.
It's at least $300 a day to go to one of those and actually enjoy yourself.
Ooh.
I used to go with my dad.
I used
I
to go
went
to 'em-
there. Finish what you're gonna say, Purple.
Yeah, I used to go to the Minnesota Renaissance Festival like 20 years ago. I haven't been to one in a long time. There was a wandering minstrel there that I had a serious crush on.
Do not get lost near my house. I have real mace.
That's a Morning Star.
This will hurt
Yep.
somebody, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, but you
A little
probably
long.
have-
You'd probably hurt yourself too.
yeah, especially with three separate chains there. Odds are you're probably going to hurt yourself more than you'll hurt anyone else.
Do you know if someone broke into my house, I would be tripping over myself. I have a cricket bat in one corner. I have an old Adirondack or Ondirak baseball bat that I found at my grandma's house. Like,
Hey,
They're
go for the bat. In combat, the simple stick is seriously underrated.
a cricket bat too, because those things are sturdy.
Yep. If you
It's
got
like
a good solid bat, that's not going to break when you hit somebody with it. That's a good weapon.
Because I've actually made spears, and they're good tools and instruments, but like, unless you're gonna do unless if somebody is like 10 times bigger than you, you could run in a corner and kneel down. Old school 10,000 BC style, but spears are awesome to play with, but they're not necessarily good defense weapons in the modern era.
Well, it depends on what you're up against.
True. I love collecting oddities and weird things is what it is.
I learned to fight with a 3-foot walking stick.
I think the most scary weapon that people can freely get is a high power bow and arrow.
I have a compound bow.
Yeah, some of those compound bows have more serious penetration power than most rifles.
Yeah, and it's physics too. Do you know what I have too, which I completely took apart because I did not want my son having the temptation? I have a crossbow.
I built a crossbow one time.
Those things are lethal.
Yeah, the one I built wasn't terribly accurate, but
Take
it
a long
definitely
time to
had the
load.
penetrating power.
What's that, Jenny?
They take a long time to load.
They do. They're those old school weapons are awesome to look at.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'd always wanted to try was one of the Chinese repeating crossbows.
Yay! He's
Because those were supposed to get around the slow loading problem.
Hey, Sarah.
But they were weak and they were inaccurate as
Yeah,
heck.
they were very inaccurate.
Yeah.
Do you know
Well,
what
again, one of those things that historically they were, but could you basically take the same design and could you get a better one building it on more modern materials?
Maybe a little bit.
Okay,
You probably still have the general problems though.
so Pumpkin Chunkin kind of showed that something like a catapult or a trebuchet kind of doesn't go out of style when you're hucking large amounts of things, So there's certain things that you could still use, and I'm not saying a
Well, yeah.
catapult is practical, but I will be building one soon.
Well, yeah, and
That
it's not
sounds
hard
awesome.
to upscale those, to just throw something heavier.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually, out of standard construction lumber, you could actually build a trebuchet that's capable of throwing a car.
Oh, that's what I want. That's something I want because I have the means, and I want to do it while I'm still young and dumb in my 40s.
Well, if you're going to build a trebuchet, why don't you go to one of those, what are they called, the pumpkin chunking competition?
Oh, yeah.
The
They
key
use air cannons for those now.
They don't have.
and the key to winning one of those is not necessarily your air cannon. It's the pumpkin now needs to be able to hold together. So you also have to be able to grow a pumpkin tough enough to survive.
Yeah, huh?
Yep.
They really don't have them on the West Coast like they do the East Coast.
They have
Okay.
some of them in Wisconsin every year, and usually in the beginning of November when everybody's got leftover pumpkins.
I got really into pumpkin chunking and noodling, which is Oklahoma
Sticking your
handfish.
hand in a hole and letting a catfish bite it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, noodling. Yeah,
It's
that's
awesome.
Hey, Will, could you ask Alexa what is the world's record for a pumpkin toss?
Alexa, what's the world record for pumpkin chunking?
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, the Guinness World Record for heaviest pumpkin is held by Matthias Willemans from Belgium and his 2,624.
Alexa, thank you. What do we
Thanks for telling me.
call it?
Pumpkin
What would
chunk?
we call it besides pumpkin chunking? Because I don't think she speaks
Well, try
Southern
pumpkin
English.
tossing.
Alexa, what's the world record for pumpkin tossing?
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, the Guinness World Record for heaviest pumpkin is held by Matthias Willemans
Alexa,
from Belgium.
Nope.
Thank you.
My
Yeah, she
pleasure.
doesn't get what you're
Just
asking
doing
for.
my job.
Try
Thursday.
just air cannon or pumpkin cannon.
How about record distance, for Christ's sake?
Alexa, what's the record distance for tossing a pumpkin?
Here's something I found on the web. According to orcommunitinow.com, the Guinness World Record for longest pumpkin shot was set in 2010 in Moab, Utah, with a distance of 5,545.43 feet.
Moab,
More than a
Utah,
mile.
5,000 feet.
It was
Wow.
more than 5,000. It was 5,500 something feet. So that's
Yeah,
more than a mile.
Yeah, it's more
that's
than a
why I
mile
asked,
and a
'cause I've
half,
heard that it's
actually.
over a mile.
Well, a mile is 5,280 feet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So
Yep.
yeah, my trebuchet isn't going to do that.
No,
I used to
trebuchets are
have
way
a
too
machine
inefficient
shop.
for doing that.
Yeah, well, trebuchet is just built to hit a very large stationary target. Accuracy was never really a big factor for them.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, when you're chucking rocks at castles, you don't need accuracy. You just need to get it in the general area.
I really liked it when it was a kind of a rage that was going around the country for a while, and people were building trebuchets and having contests, and they were just, doing let's see what we can throw, and throw washing machines, throw cars,
Yep.
refrigerators.
Yeah, I've run across stuff like that on YouTube channels from time to time. Of, them just putting all sorts of things in catapults to see what's going to go further.
Oh, boy.
I used to do rockets.
Awesome.
When George Bush was president, I did rockets. And when into Obama's first and into about a year into his second term was the last time I shot off a J or a K grade rocket. I basically let my license expire.
Those are pretty good sized J and Ks.
Yeah, I never got up to anything more than a C or D size when I played with them.
They didn't
I
have
had
a
to
D size
go.
when I played with them.
I still have some of the nozzles that I made. I had a lathe, I had a machine shop in my garage, so I could do things like that.
What material would you use?
Well, for the reusability, I just used Inconel because it would just hold its it wouldn't deform because of the temperature. It wouldn't degrade over time, but it was incredibly expensive. Each nozzle, as far as the material went, before I even started cutting it, cost me over $150.
Now, how would that compare to graphite?
Graphite is cheap as and really easy, but you can't reuse it. It degrades over time. The nozzle gets bigger over time. and I wanted something that I knew what it was going to do every single time. I
Okay.
overbuilt it, so I didn't get the range that I would have gotten if I, had the motor on the hair end of blowing up. But it was fun.
Oh man, it has been so long. I didn't get that powerful. I did smaller rockets, but God, it's been a very long time. It's been over 30 years since I've done any of that stuff.
Yeah. And I didn't have any kind of a budget when I was doing them, so I was just doing them out of scrap wood and cardboard.
Yeah, okay.
When I do things, I do them to the max.
I'm the same way, Commander 401. I'm the exact same way. That, like, when I say, "Oh, I'm going to do something," that night I'm trying to work out how I can actually do it.
And sometimes you get where you want to go, and then you get a house fire.
Well, you shouldn't have been sending off the
Molybdenum
rockets indoors.
disilicate heating elements. I dumped $5,000 worth of time and mostly $5,000 to try to make a heat treat furnace for sapphires that went up to 1800 Celsius. It worked, but thing is, by the time I had it working, my house had aluminum wires. So luckily the furnace wasn't the thing that caused a house fire. You can turn sapphires into jello and then heal all the fractures, dissolve all the stuff that makes it opaque. And if you can control the amount of oxygen, you can lighten the color to an ideal blue. Too much oxygen obviously get rid of all the blue. But I was doing that, and then I had the house.
I've thought about making a furnace that would allow me to melt aluminum.
I can't.
That's easy.
I can't find the plug, but I plugged in a 103-year-old sewing machine, and it shot out a 3-foot flame in my garage.
Oh no!
I learned a lesson that day. I don't even trust the old wiring on those machines. I completely strip them now when I see it.
Yeah. If they've got the old fabric style wiring, you got to be real suspicious.
But if you want to stay realistic for its period, you can get brand new cloth covered wire. For like, I would check radio restoring websites and things like that.
I agree, and in my case, it depends on if it's anything Singer, it's easily replaced. But if anything else, it's that one person who's like, "Oh, I know a guy."
When they get older, my grandfather owned a factory in New Jersey, and he constantly sent my mom to New York to get different parts made, because a lot of the older sewing machines, they made different things different every bloody year.
Oh yeah. That's another thing, is the redundancy in sewing machines. Sewing machines are like bicycles. It's a certain design, it's perfected, and it's for a reason, That's why I bitched so much about self-winding bobbins, because it was one of the biggest busts ever. But it was the introduction of plastic, and in the 70s, everything was made out of plastic all of a sudden.
Yep.
In the 70s, my grandfather was charging $12 a dozen for blouses for Macy's. And that still was, and they were selling them for like $50 to $70 each. And that still was not enough money for Macy's. And as soon as we opened trade with China, basically in 1976, my grandfather had to sell his factory for less than the cost of the freight elevator that he put in before, because he was paying people $4 an hour.
Which
Yeah,
was respectable money in the early 70s.
I was living well off of course, this was 27 years ago, but I was living well off of $7.35 an hour. I was living by myself. You couldn't survive off of that much, where I live at least.
I grew up in South Florida, the land of the $500,000 shack by the railroad track in the hood. That was like, one year the average price for a house was $100,000. The next year it was 200. The next year it was about 350, 400. And by the time it got around 500, we just left, and it plateaued for a few years, and then 2008.
I'm still in Florida.
That's what's happening to California right now, is everything is just outrageous. I live in what I would consider like a Brady Bunch average house, and the houses in my neighborhood are going for 800, 900,000. Someone paid $800,000 to live on my block.
I wonder how long that can last with a generation that will be lucky to make $20 an hour. When all the old folks just die, it's either going to just be inherited wealth, or the bottom's going to fall out, or the corporation's just going to buy it all and bulldoze it.
It's going to be corporate owned basically.
I'm going with
private
buying
person
it out.
able to.
In my neighborhood is being taken over by companies who buy massive amounts of houses. That's why they're driving up the market, because they'll outbid people.
We got a guy
Oh, yeah.
here who's apparently he butt buddies with DeSantis. He's basically clearing out a bunch of forest and wetlands and to build some useless housing.
Yeah.
Oh, we scored good.
Well, what you were talking about, Will, is that's going on in cities across the country. That these corporations are buying up any kind of houses they can, even stuff that's really unsuitable for anyone to live in, just so they can drive up the land prices.
My neighbor, like the block I live on, we have a bad reputation because everyone here either everyone here inherited their houses from their parents, because I grew up in this neighborhood. And so like we've gained a reputation where the realtors won't even come around and ask us if we're going to sell our houses, because they know we're not going to. Like, you know what? I'm so vindictive. I would will this to my ex-wife. That's how much I don't want I don't want it to be in a corporation's hands,
I'm just going to basically save a pile of money and eventually leave the country. I want to do it before 2024.
If it had ever been an option for me, I would have moved to Canada anytime after George W. got elected.
So if you don't have any felonies, Canada is hardcore and they're smart because they know our justice system. If you could fill out an application and have a good chance of getting in if you don't have any felonies. If you have any felonies, don't even attempt to apply to live in Canada.
I don't even have a traffic ticket.
Oh, they'll love you.
And I have a Class A CDL. I've been a machinist. I do lapidary, and I have 54 credits towards a mechanical engineering degree.
They'd take you right now. They would take you right now. You are who they are looking for to come to their country.
Yeah. My problem was having a partial disability.
Yeah, that'd probably be my problem.
I got that, but I'm functional.
Well, I was still running my own company for 25 years after I got the disability, but...
And writing,
Did you even apply?
No, but I talked to some people at the Canadian, and that's what they were telling me.
Someone I love and respect attempted to move to Canada, and she had a felony, and it was a driving felony. It wasn't like she didn't stick up a bank or anything. But long story short, Canada was like no. But quite honestly, I understand their perspective. They don't want, what they consider criminals in their country.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
And what did you mean by partial disability? I have psychological issues that entitle me to certain benefits, but I basically have not,
Well, Social Security gave me a 60% disability based on my Tourette's. And
I
that
have
was,
anxiety.
that was before the autism was properly diagnosed.
I have anxiety disorder and rheumatoid arthritis.
Mine is post-traumatic stress disorder related to actually a lot of the bullshit that surrounds us in America. I'd probably be much better off psychologically in Canada.
Yeah.
I suspected that it's the what I actually have is a form of PTSD.
I've actually not been, my therapist, my psychologist will not tell me what I have because he told me I don't want to argue why I came to the diagnosis with you, and you're smart enough to try to give me arguments. When he agreed to be my caregiver, he actually asked me precisely why I answered a lot of things, and I said, well, I answered that one no. I knew that would basically indicate that I was jaded to the world and indicate post-traumatic stress disorder, but I wasn't jaded in that way.
Yeah, I was in the process of reevaluating PTSD from childhood experiences. And that was when the insurance company decided they're not paying my therapist anymore. So
I'm distracted by hockey. I'm trying not to yell at my television because I realize that I'm not at the do you know our Staples Center got renamed to Crypto Arena or crypto.com arena or something like that.
Ooh, Ponzi scheme arena.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Considering where crypto is right now, that's probably a bad idea.
It's just, and someone like me who goes down to the stadium all the time, it's weird. I thought it was weird that Staples had enough money to build a stadium, but they can't build a decent chair. I've already reupholstered this thing.
yeah,
And it's been less than a year. But do you guys think crypto is a fad?
I don't think it's a fad. I think it's got to develop into something better. I think
Yeah.
it's unsustainable the way it is now.
Yeah.
Because the more transactions they have, the more energy it takes for each transaction. So sooner or later, that's going to, burn up to the point that they just can't handle it anymore.
It just sounds unsustainable. Sweet explains it the best, but I was introduced to it by libertarians, so I already think it's kind of whiny to begin with, But it just seems like the pet rock, those slap bracelets from the 90s. It just seems like it's something that's going to fade out.
You mean you were introduced to blockchain, and that's where the idea for all the cryptos came from.
Oh, they talk about it obsessively on libertarian radio, which they used to actually have topics in, but now it's just turned into a crypto commercial. And I had to stop watching it because all they do is talk about what they're doing in that particular world.
Well, the crypto overcame all of its shortcomings because it supports black markets. It was a way that people could exchange money that the government doesn't have a way to track.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the main reason that became such a big thing, and that's what will keep sustaining it. Because there will always be people who will want to pay people for doing illegal things.
Well, that's different.
Russia.
Yeah, but
For
I
one.
do want a Black Hawk helicopter in my front yard. I don't think I'd have to put it in my backyard, but
That might raise questions.
you could take all the guns off, everything. I just want the bird.
There was some guy in Davie who had a Cuban MiG in his front yard.
There's someone in my town, and I know I live in Los Angeles, and I know they
Hi,
work in the
Mibbit.
industry, but someone drives a Healy tank around my town, a British Healy.
Wow.
I see it all. Next time I see it, I'll take a picture of it. But it's been modified to be street legal because it honks on. We have high speed limits here in Southern California. But you never know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bert.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, if I'm dogging crypto and all of that stuff because I was born old. I don't trust things, especially like love it, leave it or take it. The dollar will still be there in the morning. You don't know if that's true with crypto. You know, if your crypto will still have the exact same value when you wake up the next day.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest problem with it, is that, the value of it fluctuates so wildly.
You know, I can take my crummy dollars and go from different states, and it still means the same thing in every single state, you know.
I don't own any crypto. I wouldn't.
No, I've never bought any. At times I've kind of wished I would have, because I've seen the way that the value of it's jumped, but
that's like when Howard Stern went to satellite radio. I should have bought stock and I didn't.
yeah.
You know, and their stock went from like $10 to 10,000. People got rich. But
Well, I heard somebody, just a few days ago, a person I know online was saying that he had bought like $40 in Dogecoin like 6 months ago, just on a lark, and that $40 he bought is now worth about $600.
I'm too jumpy for that. I would cash out. I would be like, cool, that was a great ride. Thanks for the $600. It just seems, maybe
Well, that's
I might
the thing, yeah. You never know. It went up to $600 now, and you could wake up tomorrow to find out it's only worth 30 cents.
Look at what happened to Twitter. Look at what's happening to Twitter right now. Their stock prices have taken a complete nosedive.
So has Tesla stock too.
Yep.
Absolutely. Which he's kind of an idiot because Elon has like the power wall is an amazing idea, but you kind of have to have money to have it. The Tesla batteries, those are revolutionary. He should have focused on those. Like in my town. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go what you were going to say. I'm sorry.
In my town, having a Tesla is like a status symbol, so a lot of people have them. He should have stuck with those things,
Elon is a showman. He keeps promising things he doesn't deliver, and whilst Tesla does produce really good cars, etc., that ride where Tesla is worth every other car company combined is not going to last if they don't increase market share.
Yeah, they're only like 2% of the cars sold in the U.S.
Where I live in LA, it's like it used to be having those weird Cadillac SUVs, everybody had those things, and now it's owning a Tesla. You know, rich people follow weird trends.
It used to be the Cadillac Escalade and the Hummer, and then they got rid of the tax exempt status for it as a commercial vehicle because it was a farm vehicle because it wasn't being used as that. And then they all said, I can't write this off anymore.
I remember my dad hated Cadillacs and kept being surrounded by them every time we went out someplace.
As someone who drives a big truck, something happens to you when you get in a giant vehicle. You know, something when you're 10 times bigger than everybody else. Because I recently got my truck fixed and started driving my 88 F-150 around, and there's something to be said. But now I can't drive it because gas has lost its mind.
Hey, I like my zippy little hatchback. You know, can't count how many accidents I've managed to avoid in that thing.
I've been recently switching over to using a scythe to cut my lawn.
It works.
Hey.
Yeah,
I'm
that
learning.
gives you a serious workout.
No, not really.
I knew a man who was from El Salvador in Los Angeles where he would get 2 machetes, tie ropes to the handles, and he would take swings at grass.
Yeah, most of the weight of the scythe is actually rested on the ground.
Well, I've had to cut down weed fields with a sickle.
Oh.
Why would someone even use that today?
I was about to say, we call that character building, because up at the ranch, like, I have a DR, which is like made to just rip through marshes.
Yep.
I'm 215 pounds. When I turn it on, it's a giant mower, but when I turn on the DR, it drags me.
Yep.
Well, my gas mowers kept breaking down, and I didn't like how they pollute. So I switched to a push mower, and I had trouble keeping it sharpened. So going to a scythe.
A push mower will make you buff, though.
Yeah, that was a workout. That thing was a workout.
Wow. That's when you look in the mirror the next day and you're like, wow, that was kind of worth it.
Yeah, 3 years of doing landscaping in Michigan, you would think that would have done something for me, but that just shows you how poor the diet was while I was living there.
Plus, the nice thing about the scythe is I can get into really close corners with it, so I don't need a weed eater to cut the edges.
Whippersnapper, no, I'm not familiar with that one.
Is it electric? Okay, so here's my thing with anything with a cord, and because I love chainsaws, I collect oddities. Okay, I have a corded chainsaw, and everybody was like, "Dude, I have a real Husqvarna chainsaw," and everyone's like, "Dude, why are you buying this stupid thing?" I loved it, but I've cut the cord twice.
Yeah, you have to watch that.
Anything with a cord, I'm born goofy. So anything with a cord, like, I'm liable to electrocute myself.
I had that problem. Yeah, I had that problem with the electric lawnmower that I ran over the cord a couple of times and had to tape it back together.
Yep.
Sorry, Commander?
There was some guy who basically took Kenhole wire, which is basically wire that can heat up to about 2400 Fahrenheit, and he made a lightsaber with it. And he took some lithium-ion batteries and made a backpack out of it. You could use that and then plugged his lightsaber in. You could use that for your chainsaw.
You know, that's not a bad idea, because I was thinking about making a video of how to obscenely power a sewing machine, because I have all kinds of weird generators and stuff, and a lot of failed Harbor Freight products.
I saw a guy who made a lightsaber that actually had a plasma blade and can cut through steel, but it only lasts like 3 minutes.
That was a different one. I saw that one
Yeah,
too.
and sometimes explodes.
Yeah, that kind of
Exploding
sucks.
in your
too.
hand would be a bad thing.
I am dead to rights with a weed whacker. I don't know what's going on in the chat, but with a weed whacker, I was raised out near a property. So with a steady hand, you can do amazing things with an actual industrial weed whacker, not the
Yeah.
Sears type, but the one with a giant head, like a Husqvarna or something like that, or a Still.
Yeah, well, that's when I was working with the landscaper. That was most of my time. Was one of the gas-powered still weed whackers that I had to go around do all the edging stuff, the tight places that the mowers couldn't get up to.
Those things are awesome and they're hardcore.
Yeah, so I was walking around, 8 or 10 hours a day, carrying 30 pounds of equipment. You'd think that would have gotten me in shape, but the diet sucked so bad I just put on weight around the belly.
Well, since I started doing my gardening, I've put on about 10 pounds of muscle.
I was about to say, Grey Wolf, like all the stuff you're doing is gonna make you ripped.
Yeah. Well, since I moved, even though I basically more or less wind up becoming a couch potato, don't get to go out and everything I'm doing is from my chair, I'm still losing weight just because I'm eating better here.
That's my problem. I've gained almost 50 pounds since my promotion in 2020. I eat terrible. I love chili fries and pizza.
Now, see, I love salad, but getting any kind of fresh produce up there in Michigan, there just wasn't much. It's like anything you saw in the store looked like it would rot within a day or two.
It's so weird that you would say that because like here I bought lemons and pineapples and oranges today, and they're fresh, but they're also grown within like a half an hour of my house.
I think it was Dr. Cross was saying in B's stream that when she was in LA, you could basically pick citrus in the park.
I used to have a nice orange tree in my yard.
I would love to have that, but yeah, they're not going to like the winter temps around here.
Hey,
Well, I'm trying to
Space
grow
Crafter.
some oranges from seed.
Did the state come by and cut it down because of the canker stuff?
Raining.
So a year ago, I planted a bunch of potatoes, and it's been over a year, like an actual real full trip around the sun. And I looked, and I grew more potatoes.
I'm actually working on growing potatoes.
I'm really impressed because I'm growing food, and I have grapes and weed and
Good.
chili peppers. Like I'm really impressed of all the stuff I'm growing this year.
Good.
My sister sent me pictures the other day that she's actually got fruit on her pineapple.
I've really surprised myself with how much I've learned with gardening.
Yeah.
But I've been doing it kind of as a survival thing, so you can't pick up stuff.
It's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. Like I do it every year. But I planted grapes. Grapes do not they're like weed. It's like it grows fast. It does not need that much water. Grapes are amazing, but they are an invasive species. So if you grow grapes, they will come back and invade your tree, your bush. Like grapes just go looking for anything to hang on.
I need a specific
tried.
variety for down here.
I have Concord and I'm total California. I have green ones and I have purple ones.
Yeah, I think it's the muscadine grapes that grow well here, but they don't have as good of a flavor.
Why don't you grow an olive tree?
I was
Maybe.
thinking about that. I'm growing when you said orange, I just took an orange seed and put it in an indoor plant, and it's been growing. So I've recently put it outside, and it's thriving.
Well, that's my
Yeah,
sister grew her pineapple by just the cutting off the top from when she got it at the supermarket,
Oh
and
yeah.
now she's got a couple of pineapples the size of golf balls hanging on it.
Yeah, I've got pineapple growing in my backyard.
Oh, that's real?
Yeah, you just
Oh
take the
yeah,
top
yeah,
off
you can root
and you
one
stick
that
it in the
way.
ground, and you just keep the ground moist around it for at least a couple weeks. It'll root and start growing.
I'm gonna do. I have tilled soil because once I learned how to legally grow marijuana, I went crazy with it. I'm gonna grow a pineapple. I'm all
I'm
stoked.
I'm also finding that they seem to do better right underneath trees.
I have this really weird area where like I have a rose bush that I have not. It's turned into. It's out of its own self-defense from the grapes. It's huge. And so it's created this weird cove under my patio.
The grapevines really do cause an issue for a lot of plants. They're considered an invasive species around here.
I'll take a picture. It's really hardcore. And out of like, I didn't cut them all down last year, and they came back with a vengeance this year.
Yep.
I'm gonna have a ton of grapes this year.
Well, in New York, we had the vines taking over our whole fence, but I never saw any fruit on them.
I didn't do well growing grapes. Same thing, purple.
I think
Well,
that
we
did
didn't
well.
mean to grow them. Those were just ones that we don't know where they came from. They were just growing all over the place.
It's worse than ivy.
The thing that did well for me this year during winter was the Ethiopian kale, and it's still doing good back there too, even though it's bolted. Instead of getting bitter, it actually develops almost a mustard flavor.
Oh wow! I'm gonna have to look
And
that up.
godless sowing, if you're thinking of growing pineapple, you gotta wait about a year for a pineapple.
Yeah, it's every other year.
I'm patient.
Oh yeah, well, actually, with most fruit trees, you won't get any fruit for at least the first year. Sometimes as much as 3 years before they get established.
When I saw the potatoes growing, I was so excited. I called my mother, and she came over and she was like, we were like little kids. She's like, "You're actually growing food."
One thing that goes really well around here is sweet potatoes. I've got purple and the regular orange.
Oh wow!
Well, that's why potatoes became such a staple to so many cultures. The damn things will grow just about anywhere.
I'm excited now. Mage, you got me wanting to grow sweet potatoes because I have a really good recipe for sweet potato pie.
Give it a try. If you're in a hot climate, they should do well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I live in Southern California, but I live in the high desert where we have varying temperatures, but it's relatively 80 to 90 degrees always.
Yeah, they just grow from slips. So you just take a sweet potato from the grocery store, stick it in some water, or just place it on some moist dirt, let it grow slips. Pick those slips off, and then let them grow roots.
Or you can just stick one in the ground and it will eventually do its thing.
No, it'll just keep. You won't get a good yield out of that because it'll just keep feeding off the one potato.
So I did that with like a bag of old potatoes, and I came back a year later, and I'm like, it's like green acres. I'm gonna take a picture of it because I'm so proud of what I did in my backyard, and I just ignored it. I watered everything like I normally do because I go out in my backyard because it's really peaceful, and like, I'm really proud that I grew. I'm gonna thrive in the apocalypse.
I also would recommend putting them in grow bags. I have mine in 25-gallon grow bags. That way, they're easier to get to the sweet potatoes.
It's not a bad idea. I have to build a shed for the side of my house, so I do need to write things like that down because that's not a bad idea at all. I could build a few boxes on the side of my house.
And grow bags are pretty cheap too.
Well, and if you're building a shed, the topsoil you scrape off before you start. That would be good for sharing a garden somewhere else.
That's how I when I was growing my marijuana, I go on the far side of my yard because I do heavy mulching, and I go under there, and I jokingly I call my marijuana wormweed because worms thrive in there, and it grows. And last year I grew so much that I'm just repeating exactly what I did last year.
If it
Well,
was
yeah, the
legal, I'd
worms
grow
help
that
aerate
stuff.
the soil. It helps keep everything healthier in there.
Oh man, I had huge plants last year, and they're already on track to be bigger this year. So I'm excited.
I saw one marijuana plant that they used it to feed hogs.
Happy hogs.
Around here, there. I don't know if the neighborhood cats feel sorry for me if they think I'm a crappy hunter, but they've adopted my backyard. It's because I've let my fruitless mulberry completely take over one side of my yard, so it's shade from a certain time of day, for the rest of the day.
Well, one place I'd recommend going if you're going to do some more gardening is San Diego Seed Company. They're one of my favorites, and they grow for local in California.
Okay. I definitely will check that out. We have a ton of farmers markets and like local farmers around here. That's where a lot of this started. My son had a therapist where her husband owned an avocado farm, and we went down there, and he's like, bro, this is so easy. Like, let me show you, and like, he got me into gardening.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. Unfortunately for me, it has too many negative associations with growing up, so I couldn't really enjoy it.
Well, there's the link to the.
My dad was a wonderful gardener. Horrible human being, but a wonderful gardener.
Can I ask you a question? Did he use weeding or using a hoe as punishment?
Not specifically, but yeah, it's just we were expected to help out. He never showed any kind of gratitude or encouragement for it.
Oh yes, we scored. Good. My father was the same
There's
way.
a seed company in the side chat there.
Perp, if it makes you feel any better, I don't know if it was the military, but my dad just expected his children to do everything he did.
Yeah, well, my dad grew up on a farm, so yeah, he expected that to be part of the normal chores, but he was just an unpleasant person to be around. He was always yelling and, he was always upset about something. It's like I couldn't do anything that ever made him happy.
That I completely understand that. My pops just smoked so much. Still to this day, I'm not kidding you. He's the only human being I've ever met that he would fart and it smelled like Captain Black.
My dad chewed tobacco. He didn't smoke, and I think that's mostly just because, being a carpenter, when you're always ankle deep in sawdust, he realized carrying an ember around wasn't a good idea.
That's true.
But he always chewed tobacco and just the spitting. And mostly he was an alcoholic.
My grandparents quit smoking in the late 50s. And my grandfather, they must have smoked like chimneys. He was able to get a 20 horsepower boat with the money he saved over a year.
Oh, wow. I knew people like that. My ex-wife's parents, they would smoke a carton every other day.
Holy fuck.
So at least every 2 days, they would buy a carton. And when we lived with them, every once in a while, she'd call me and be like, hey, bro, go buy a carton of Merritts and a carton of Marlboro Reds. Like and I smoke, like when I smoked cigarettes, I smoked a lot. I'm no one to judge. But I grew up in a smoker household, but I had never met two human beings who smoked. And it wasn't my ex-wife's mom. It was her stepdad. He was the kind of guy who would be lighting a cigarette with the one he was putting out.
My mom would do that. Actually, she would have 2 cigarettes lit. sometimes.
Exactly. To me, because I hung out with them all the time, it was more of a nervous habit. I have it. I sit here and smoke pot the entire stream, you know? That's why I say I'm not judging, but like it costs a lot of money.
Mippet wanted to share her garden.
Oh,
Oh,
that's beautiful. Let me see if I have
what do we got here?
What is that?
That's Mippet's garden. It looks like a weed that's big enough to be a tree.
What we got growing here? Kind of hard to tell from the screenshot here.
Yeah, I think it's marijuana.
Ah,
I didn't
But
want to
it
jump
looks
to
to
any
me like it's grown
conclusions.
a good 5 feet tall.
You'd be popular here in California. I tried space buckets, but I'm really bad at growing things in buckets. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of things that I've gleaned off the internet that were complete BS. And I'm not saying space buckets are not. If you know how to grow in buckets, like I've seen spectacular grows. But like I'm old school. I put it in the ground and it grows.
I grew okra in 5-gallon in grow bags last year, and they got to be about 5 feet tall.
Oh, that's awesome.
My father could grow anything that, you know, it was amazing how much he could produce, you know, on just a backyard garden.
I haven't
You
taken
know,
any.
when I was 9 years old, I had a friend, I'm not going to use the name, but I thought it was so neat that they were growing all these plants inside and that they had all these lights, and I had no clue as to what they were doing until I got older.
My father and my sister were the same way because I'm an oops baby. My sister had a plant, and I wondered why my dad and my sister all of a sudden started getting along and hanging out in the backyard all the time. It's because my sister had a giant weed plant, you know.
Well, we got one accidentally growing on the side of the house. We got a weed that wound up getting to be almost 3 feet tall before somebody chopped it down, just because my sister was tapping her pipe out on the windowsill.
I'd grow the stuff if it was legal here.
I get a weird satisfaction from gardening. Even if you take weed out of the equation, I love gardening in general. Even if I lived in an apartment, and when I see, it's different because I've always lived, like when I lived up north, you can't necessarily grow stuff on your windowsill. But here in California, you can grow stuff, you know, in your own house. I have 3 indoor plants going right now.
Yeah. Well, I know if I tried to grow anything indoors here, Sammy would eat it. Wouldn't matter what it is, he'd eat it.
I have this weird tree. I don't even know what it is, but it started out this big and now it's like almost 4 feet high. I put it in my living room because it's lived its whole life in my house. I don't know what to do.
I had been growing cat grass for him. I need to replant it so he's got his salad bar back.
But real question, if something was a house plant its whole life, but it's a tree, would it last outside?
Maybe.
Where you live,
depends.
probably.
In your
Where I live,
environment, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Here, we'd have to condition it.
yeah.
It would definitely be hardened off.
Because our weather is about to jump. Like we're going from 70-degree days where we're about to have 90 to 100 on average in the next week or two.
Yeah, well, depending on what kind of plant and, you know, whether it's direct sun or something in the shade.
Just keep that weather there, okay?
I'm gonna have to
Well-
bust my weed awning out. I have a whole awning and everything for my plants.
Well, if it's growing well indoors, it's probably a shade-loving plant.
Jenny, it's okay. It always loses something in shipping, so if he sent his weather here, it would still be down to 70 by the time it gets here.
No, it wouldn't.
It's going to be
It's
hotter now.
unseasonably cold where I am.
In the
Is everyone
summer.
getting their normal weather, or is it?
No, we're
No.
getting very erratic bounces here now.
Same here.
It was
It's
it
not
was
good.
93 here today. It's the normal is about 62.
Yo, that's a jump. That's
Yeah,
a
Well,
big jump.
my
It was
normal
87
is
this afternoon, and I'm covering up with a blanket now.
my normal is about 70 to 80, and it was like 60.
It was 78 here today, and it's gonna be 94 tomorrow. That's a jump. I'm gonna have to cover my plants.
It looks like my high tomorrow is 84, and it's 70 now.
I need to write that down on my. I have a pad where when I get really good ideas when I'm stoned, I write them down so I remember them the next day.
Oh, I remember one time I lost 40 pounds and I was on Vyvanse. And I got some really off the wall ideas, and that didn't stop until you can imagine if you lose 40 pounds and then you're on something and you're on the dose for when you were a lot heavier. I was nuts, but I had some great ideas.
I take prednisone because of my lungs, and it is a real steroid. And anyone who's ever taken a steroid, like, there's times where I catch myself in the hallway doing push-ups because my heart is beating so fast. And I have to take it every 3 months.
Yeah, Skits,
take-
we've been doing the same thing around here. It was in the low 50s last week, and it's in the high 80s this week.
Skits, you must live in NorCali, because NorCali has real weather. Like, Northern California has real weather. Like, it was my dream to live in San Francisco, but I never made it big, and I'm not a billionaire.
I really wonder what the end result of. Well, no, never mind.
Because Americans are stupid, Mipet.
Yep.
I lived in Northern Cali twice. It's a beautiful place. There's a weird rivalry in California, but not for me. Like, I have love for Northern Cali. They have some of the best weed on planet Earth up there too. I went all the way to Amsterdam to sit down in a coffee shop to see weed that came from Humboldt, California.
Humboldt County?
Yeah, some of the best stuff in the world. I
Yeah.
laughed when, my cousin looked at me and he's like, dude, we had to come all the way to Amsterdam to smoke something that's like, 600 miles from our house.
I had a friend that lived for a period of time in Hawaii, and he said that he would just take pot seeds and just throw them randomly out in his backyard, and he'd end up with pot in a couple of months, and it was the best stuff he's ever had, and it just grows like a weed.
Well, volcanic soil is supposed to be really good.
I think that
I had a coworker who used to be in the Navy, and he told me about his story a story about how they got shore leave in the Netherlands, and everyone, whether or not they intended to get stoned, came back stoned. They didn't test anyone, and after that, they developed a secret shitter on the ship where he would take a dump right in all the holes, and everyone swore if they found out who it was, they'd throw him overboard. But that's how the secret shitter was born on a Navy nuclear cruiser.
I'm laughing because I grew up. My dad was in the Navy. I've
Yeah,
told
my
this story.
brother was in the Navy.
I heard in the Navy they see themselves as the Navy, and then there's the submariners.
Yeah.
That they're just a very different kind of people.
I actually knew someone that served on a nuclear. We used to call it a nuki poo. They are different. They spend months underwater. Months.
Yeah, the submariners are pretty much a separate class in themselves,
Yeah.
just because of all the extended isolation when they don't have contact with even any other ships.
Like,
I
think about
I
it.
couldn't deal with it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jenny.
That's all right.
Yeah, the normal Navy ships, I mean, even if they don't go into port for months at a time, they'll wind up having contact with other ships that they'll wind up resupplying at sea and such.
That's exactly what I
And
was.
communicating it back home.
And being able to like see the land. You can still be, 15 miles out and be like, okay, I'm still a part of that world. But imagine being underwater for months in a tin can. I don't know
I
if
can't imagine it.
I couldn't hang. I would do
Skits,
really
I'd invite
bad.
you in here, but I can't find you on Twitter either.
My grandfather was in the Navy, but he had extreme claustrophobia, so there's no way he could have been on a submarine.
The New Mexico, a prime example of, built by the lowest bidder. There were these bolts that were made for specific holes. We held really close tolerances. And then they took all those bolts that were different lengths and different diameters, the bodies of them, and just shoved them in any holes that they wanted. And they bent the deck of New Mexico so much the torpedoes would not load. And the executives gave themselves a raise. And no one got fired.
Yikes.
I hope I didn't bug anyone with that. No, I would not want to be on a nuclear ship. A nuclear sub.
I don't think I'd want to be on any naval ship. You think about an aircraft carrier that's got like 3,000, 4,000 people on it. It's like, holy fuck.
It's really cramped and tight.
Yep.
I have been on them to take measurements of stuff.
When my brother was in the Navy, when I was a teenager, the Navy was doing this promotional thing they called the Tiger Cruise. So I got to fly out to Pearl Harbor and be on the ship with him back to San Diego. And of course, since they were just trying to show off, they took 8 days to make the trip. But he was on an LPD, which is a landing patrol dispatch. Basically, they were floating troop carriers that, they were supposed to carry about 800 Marines. And he said their job was to throw the Marines up on the beach and get out of there before anyone could shoot at them.
Is that the ship that basically the back or the front unloads and all the hovercraft come out and they just spit the troops out, take the hovercraft back, and then get the out?
Those are the LSTs that deploy the heavy equipment, the tanks and stuff like that. But they were in the same grouping, that they were traveling together because those carried the heavy equipment, but the one he was on just carried personnel.
My pops was on the Bennington, and I think they were at LSD for a time, or LST, whatever they call it. I have the patch somewhere around here.
I can guarantee you any one of those ships could be sunk by the amount of paperwork that it takes to build one.
Have a great night,
Yeah.
Mippet.
Yep.
Good night,
Good
Nick.
night,
Here, Mippet.
Mippet.
Well,
Have a
for
good
Mippet,
night.
it's the middle of the day.
Good day.
Thank you for coming. This is the first time I've seen you here.
Yeah.
I
For Mippet,
forget
it's
she's a
yeah.
time traveling dragon.
Yep. She's somewhere in the future, so she's into tomorrow afternoon already.
How many people are in the chat?
What's YouTube saying? YouTube says there's 11 people watching.
Okay.
And I'm still in there, so that's 10 people.
Well, I expect it's pretty much counting everyone that's on the panel here. So we've got a bunch of people who are just being quiet out there and not saying anything.
I was hoping that I'm trying to get him to bite. I already got enough video to make him look like an idiot. I told him that I had proof that they were Nazis running the Russian space program.
I'm unindoctrinated. Who's Daniel Pratt?
Oh my god.
He's a fucking flat earth fucking idiot who's pro Putin and he doesn't know what the fuck a Nazi is.
Those people are bad for my blood pressure, so I try to stay away from flat earthers.
Well, Pratt's different. He's worth watching just to watch how absolutely insane he is. The man's just a genuine nutcase.
I do love a good train wreck.
Yeah.
I told him in his comment section, and I think he blocked me after I did this. You know, the Kremlin's got their claws really deep into your brain. And I referenced Isaiah 8:12, do not call conspiracy what these people call conspiracy and do not dread what they dread. And I told him those conspiracies are robbing you of your love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and self-control and faithfulness. And you say you're a Christian, yet I have video of you saying that you wanted everyone you didn't like to go to hell. Shame on you.
Okay, so this has always tripped me out about Christians, and I've said it a bajillion times. Christians use God as their concierge or their butler. It's like, oh, butler, that person needs to go to hell. Oh, concierge, that person did a wrong. Stone them.
Well, there is no hate like Christian love.
Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst.
You know, a lot of Christians use God as the manager that they call on. And as I've said before, Daniel chapter 7, verse 8, and Daniel chapter 8, verse 9, the word that's used for the Hanukkah villain or the Antichrist in the Christian tradition is Karen. It literally is Karen.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Do you know, like in LA Pride, there will be like 60 to 70 hate preachers that stand at it's like the hate bridge in order to walk on Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood. You have to like walk past all the hate preachers, and I always like they'll say you're going to hell, God hates the F word and all of this, and then they'll say, but Jesus loves you. As they're sitting there frothing at the mouth because we exist.
I don't understand their hatreds. I really don't. I was born Jewish. Obama made me want to be a Christian, and I will rub that in the evangelicals' faces all day long. And then they made me so sick of Christianity, I went back to the synagogue.
I gave up on God completely, and my life has been great. It's just ignore that bullshit.
Do you know, I live in a, like I say this all the time, I live in a very diverse area, and we live in a relative peace. People of all religions, background, races, but the one thing we don't talk about is religion.
Well,
So we all
get people all uppity.
Yeah. We will talk about politics and get heated. A few of my neighbors, we've gotten snippy with each other over politics, but we just don't talk about religion because To me, it doesn't matter. But I'm a bit of a nihilist atheist. So I'm like, live and let live.
Well, when I say that I go to a synagogue, first, when it comes to religion, people who don't want my religion, I don't want to force it on you. If there's like a funny joke, like the Antichrist is Karen, I'll make it. But I don't want to force anything on someone that they don't want it. And I don't want them to force their shit on me.
Absolutely. And that's another thing. Like, I don't go around preaching atheism. Diana, have you ever gone around preaching the word of atheism?
Actually, okay, to be absolutely honest with you, I did do some door-to-door evangelizing with a book with blank pages. Do you believe that?
It's something that I would do. I have this aggression towards especially the hate preachers and the conservative evangelicals. And that's the only group that I will go out of my way to make them squirm.
Oh man, I used to like to do that. My sister was a raging evangelical.
Any of them that start yelling from the pulpit about gays, those I'll go after.
Like where I'm from in my family, no one will talk to me about religion anymore because they're like, "Oh, don't talk to him. He's an atheist. He's an atheist." So they actually leave me alone about it. So I should have said I was an atheist, 15 years ago.
Well,
I
haven't even come out to my family as far as being atheist because most of them haven't come to terms with me being pagan yet. Aside from the fact that anytime religion comes up and I'm in the room, my mom's very quick to change the subject before I can say anything.
The one thing that drives me crazy, and my brother does it on purpose, every time I talk to him, he will say, in mid-sentence, he'll say, atheism is a religion, right? And then he'll go right back to whatever he was talking about for the past 4 or 5 years. Every time I talk to him, he works it into a conversation.
It's not a religion.
Well,
I don't even acknowledge it anymore. When he says it, I'm like, and it's Tuesday. Like, what else?
Yeah. Well, my oldest brother's one of the ones who, he's going to pray before every meal and all this stuff. So anytime he's doing that, I'm around, he acts surprised to find out I left the church. And I'm always like, this is not new information. This is something you've known about for 30 years.
I think that's what hurts people. Sorry. I think that's what hurts people the most is that I was raised in a church. So it hurts them that I don't identify as Catholic anymore.
If Jesus actually did exist, I wonder how angry he would be at what people do in his name.
Well, Jesus never existed, so there it is just not going to happen.
I'm not so sure.
No one never existed. The flood never happened. Come on.
Oh, the flood never happened.
The flood never happened, or there might have been a flood, but it wasn't as bad as the Bible says, and it was just embellished.
Christ did not exist. Oh, that's absolutely the case.
I'm not arguing that.
Come on.
I'm saying that genuinely.
If the stories might be based on the myths about multiple people. And just myths, folklore.
Yeah.
I'm in the legend camp.
But the religion expects me to take all that in and have a belief and a faith in it for unnatural, supernatural things that will occur or exist that don't. And that's why it gets rejected. Fine, it's a great little story, keep it a story, but don't tell me I have to have some sort of faith and belief in this junk and practice a bunch of rituals that really in modern days all they do is hurt people. It's just take it away.
Absolutely.
Religion and I don't belong in the same room.
Even when I was a Christian, I had come to the idea that, you know, Jesus was a composite character like Robin Hood or King Arthur, that there were probably dozens of these wandering preachers walking around with similar, telling similar tales. And just when somebody finally got around to writing it all down, they thought it made a better story to say it was all one guy.
The impression I get, I don't know if I can fully justify it, but from reading the scriptures, the impression I get is that Jesus was probably not all that nice a guy.
Well, that's part of why I think it was multiple guys, because sometimes he seems like a really nice guy wanting to help people out, and sometimes he seems very big on condemning a lot of people.
Okay.
So that's why it doesn't seem like all of this was said by the same person.
None of it was said by anybody.
The Romans,
they just made up what and said, "Oh, Jesus said this." No, he didn't. He didn't exist. How could he have said that?
The Romans are laughing at us because they invented. I think a lot of this is because every society after Rome has pretended to be them, and we just kept their crappy traditions. They're like laughing at us.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, how you
Heck
doing?
yeah. Heck
Your
yeah.
real face, even.
Oh, God forbid.
An interesting thing about the whole empty tomb thing and all that. You know how they have the stone was rolled away? Well,
Yeah.
round stones weren't really used at the time when Jesus supposedly died. They were square shaped, and the only round ones we know of from that time were large, expensive tombs for like families. The round stone tombs were used later on, about when the story was written.
I'm in the same school as Jenny, where I think it's all football stories, where over the years it just gets 10 more yards,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like
It was exaggerated with each retelling, and that
Yeah.
happened 100 times before anybody wrote it down for the first time.
Yeah.
Because even in
I just have
other
to say, Jenny, I love this particular picture, this goofy looking dragonfly.
It is adorable.
I think so too. Smiling, he's happy.
Oh.
And that's a damselfly, not a dragonfly.
Okay.
Religion's a funny thing. Even a religion like the Nation of Islam, okay? I consider them atheists because they believe that their God has come and gone. He wrote his book, and they don't believe in God. They believe in that person because you can go back and watch him on TV, but they don't believe in God. So I think one of the
everything's
reasons,
based around Muhammad.
Yeah. Well, theirs is
Except for when listening to Muhammad is inconvenient.
Well, the Nation of Islam is a branch like most Muslims wouldn't even consider them Muslims. It's the Malcolm X religion. It's an American religion if you really think about it. And it was based around Faraj Muhammad, who gave the book to they're gonna stone me for not remembering the other guy's name. But anyways, they had their Jesus figure came and went,
Well, would it matter? You're stoned most of the time.
My whole point is, to me, it's really cool stories that people tell each other,
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's cool.
Scientology does one thing. It does one thing, other than take money from people and all sorts of commit murders and things. Scientology does one thing. It shows the world, gives the world the opportunity to observe how easy it is to create a non-existent thing, call it religion, and get people to believe it. And that's the basis of all religion, all over the earth, throughout time, and it will always be.
Yeah, it's just getting a bunch of people to believe a set of stories as being historical.
So, Skizcrasher,
it served an evolutionary purpose in that it united people, but it also does something bad. It divides people.
Do you
The
live in a
people
religious
Yeah.
have
area,
used
Sketch Crasher?
religion and weaponized religion
Oh yeah.
for all the time that they've ever practiced it. Every religion has been weaponized. Religion has created most of the world's strife and will continue to do that as long
Well,
as we allow it.
And more than anything else, religion has always been used as an excuse to get rid of the people in the community you don't like.
Yep.
True.
But it's godless sowing. Yeah, up here in Northern California, especially out here in the farmlands and orchards. Yeah, religion is real big out here, and then especially in my line of work and dealing a lot with veteran organizations, like everything, the VFW, the American Legion. They all start with a supposedly non-denominational prayer, but it all kind of
Yeah.
magically starts with Jesus and yada yada.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I just have to sit there and have to stand up, recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and like kind of mouth under God, and then it's a lot.
Now, I also have to say, after trashing religion like I generally do, I fully and freely admit that there are church organizations, religious organizations of individuals, no central body of religion, but of individual churches and things that do marvelous things for the culture they're living in, that do wonderful things for giving people emotional support, for giving them a structure of reality that they can't seem to gain on their own without the concept of religion. That it keeps people, I'm not going to say it keeps people in line, but it gives people who can't create morality on their own or don't understand morality on their own a way to stay good.
Those are
Churches
the
feed,
people that worry me.
house people, so that there are good things that religion is used for, but the central religions destroy everything that the people can actually do within the structure.
Can I tell you the relevance to me for the religion? When you're
Sure.
treated like crap and you're told you're horrible because of who your mom was, because you have a Jewish
Oh.
family history,
Oh.
and you're beaten like that, it's more or less, I want to be proud of who I am and where I come from. I don't want to use the religion as a bludgeon. I get upset with the people who I felt basically made my life a living hell, basically the more conservative of the evangelicals. But to me, it's about having a sense of pride in where you come from. And my goodness, I remember where my family comes from all the hell of the past 2,000 or 4,000 years. In fact, when they did the Colin Kaepernick thing, that was the last time I sung the American national anthem. Every time that they would say, sing the national anthem, I go, Kol belevav panima nefesh Yehudi homia ufahate mizrak kahadima I am Zion Sophia Odo avlatik vetinu hatayfavat snotapayim liotam hoshiberatinu eretz Zion Yerushalayim. And I know I mumbled that at the end, but the evangelicals love that. And
Well, does religion actually give somebody a moral center who doesn't have one, or does it give them justification for their shittiness?
Yes.
Well, I think
Yes.
you do
it
both.
usually gives them a justification for being shitty.
I'll tell you,
Usually, not always.
it's not until people spot my car, but someone will like I'll walk up and they'll see my patches, and someone all of a sudden wants to start preaching to me.
Yeah.
You
Well, it's
know,
like the drive-by conversion I had. I was outside. I was waiting for this pet store to open up, and this van drives up, stops. This old guy jumps out and hands me a pamphlet that says something about believing in God, and gets back in the car and drives away.
I drive by preaching.
Yeah.
At this point in time in history, I think that the evangelism has worn out its because
Oh God, no.
everyone's heard the Christian story. And, you know,
Evangelism
if
is
you
on
haven't
the rise.
accepted it, you're not going to unless you want to. And having it shoved in your face time after time after time after time just makes it wear on you even more.
They
I
have
wonder.
found new territory. Evangelism is Southern Baptist type evangelism is going absolutely nuts in Central and Southern America.
Mm.
I
Okay.
really wonder how often, like, you know, they knock on a door and, you know, like, have you heard the good news? Let's talk about Jesus Christ. And
Can I
they
tell you
actually,
something?
who?
I like to try and keep them talking as long as I can.
So to answer,
Actually,
oh,
since
sorry.
2008, I have not had anyone come to my door outside of the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons, and I think I know why. Howard Dean took a book called Culture Matters, and it comes with a little rhyme. There once was a book written by T.M. Moore back in 2004, and 4 years later, The Black Guy He Hated came more highly rated by T.M. Moore just 4 years before. I sat with that book as I watched the the Democrats, kiss evangelical ass, and it sucked the energy right out of the Republican Party. And they stopped coming to your door when they realized that, oh, they might get you in church, but they might not turn you into a Republican. And then that takes their ability to say, look at this godless communist. We need to get rid of him. And I think that's what it is. They've just weaponized it for political purposes. Because I noticed that. And after Obama got elected with, when Jesus comes into your life, you find hope that brings change, that change you can believe in, they grabbed books written by Ayn Rand. Her books were endorsed by the Church of Satan out of San Francisco in the late 60s. That's what the Republicans grabbed to try to save Christianity. And not to bash the modern Temple of Satan, which is far more reasonable than Anton LaVey. And they do good charitable work. And I will acknowledge that.
And I put the Church of Satan in the same group as standard religion, Christian religion.
Most of them are atheists who are just trying to take the piss.
Religion.
Well, LaVey ran a circus. I mean, really.
Modern Satanism is atheism.
And I'm saying the Temple of Satan is far more reasonable than Anton LaVey's bullshit.
I've noticed Aaron Ra's been doing a lot with Satanism.
I'm going to use this as a sales pitch, opportunity for a sales pitch. You know, I mentioned earlier Scientology that was just made up out of whole cloth by a couple of guys in a bar who made a bet, and we can see what it's done and what it is today because of this bar bet. There's a group of people who are creating a religion right now. It's called the Church of the Prismatic Light. And it has 7 basic tenets that it lives by. That is the whole purpose for the church, for the source of their belief structure, the essence of their religion. And although I haven't memorized the 7 tenets, they all have to do with the individual's right to bodily autonomy, the right to freedom from oppression by other religions or by governments to force them into situations and life situations and things that they oppose. Basically, it's a religion that is being specifically set up to combat the religious influence of all the laws that are going down right now in the states that are anti-trans, anti-LGBT, and the general effort of the evangelicals to pull back all the rights that the LGBT community has earned. Now, joining this church doesn't cost you a thing. It is merely an email address and a password for the website, and you're in. They are going to have a certain amount of church structure because that's required to be legally defined as a religion in the country. You can study and become a priest X of the church. It's not a priestess. It's not a priest. It's a priest X.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, and be part of the church on that level. And if you are, you will be certified to do, weddings and funerals, just like any other legitimate preacher. It is going to be a completely legitimate church. They've already got their 503c papers from the IRS and things, and it is progressing. It is progressing forward. I'm trying to get every liberal person I know to consider joining it. You can be a member of another religion too if you want at the same time. It's not there to replace, it's there to complement. And I say come with us because it's going to be our opportunity to fight back on the constitutional level that we can't right now because we're just a band of individuals with a label of LGBT. So think about it. Whether you're straight or whether you're LGBT, it doesn't matter. You're welcome in the church, and we need your numbers, and we need your belief in these 7 tenets. You can find the church on what do they call it? Instagram. You can find it on Twitter. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on YouTube. You just have to do some searches.
I put the link in the side chat.
Church of the Prismatic Light.
Yeah, I got the link to their site in the side chat.
It's the Church of Prismatic Light, and there's no the stuff.
Yep. Thanks, Mage. Yeah, I joined it. I'm on their mailing list at least. But like you say, Jenny, it would be a good thing if there was, just if this can be used as a place for us to all come together, so that the politicians have to start identifying us as voting bloc.
They have services on Saturdays by way of Zoom, which is also another requirement of being a religion, that you have some sort of service, and that you have a place to call home, an office or a structure of some sort, which can be in somebody's den. It doesn't have to be a separate building and stuff. It just has to be a consistent place. So this is really happening, and it was largely inspired by John Oliver.
I love John Oliver.
I remember that the church of Our Lady of Perpetual Exemption.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Yes.
Send us your seed money. Don't send us your seed. Please don't send us your seed.
And the show staff went through the process, and it created this religion, and that's a still existing legitimate religion if you want to get involved in it. But this one has purpose, and I strongly suggest that you at least investigate as far as to get a document that explains the seven tenets. If you have any sort of liberal bones in your body, there's not a chance that you could say, no, I don't believe in any of this stuff, because it really is very legitimate, honest, pure of heart, and absolutely critical that we do something now to keep the evangelical movement from ramrodding.
They're fascists.
Down the throat of our
fascists.
We are.
Don't even give them the benefit of a religious label. They are fucking fascists.
Okay, Jenny wasn't quite finished.
We are millimeters away from becoming a theocracy. The Republican Party and the evangelicals have been working on this in a structured manner, in a planned attack, structured manner since Ronald Reagan. They played the long game, and they are winning, and they are in position now with the judges they need, with the legislatures they need, with the public ignorance that they need, and the state legislatures that they need to recreate this country in a theocracy and to ruin everything that we've always believed in and stood for. It's really happening. We are becoming the fascist nation, and they're one election away from it. This is happening now.
Well, yeah, because they're doing everything they can to make sure we can't have fair elections anymore.
Exactly. That's part of the whole plan, is to make voting harder for people, to get the judges in that are going to make decisions in favor of the movement. It's all going down exactly how they planned it and worked for it. They did a good job. They did a real good job organizing and doing it. But you can look up the people.
Dominionism.
Really quick, I want to say hi to Mark Caesar, Sydney, and Cash Queen. Hello.
Hi.
All are welcome.
So I will shut up now. But trees, write that down. Church of Prismatic Light, and search it out, and please consider it.
Well, Mage put the link in the side chat to their main page. So anybody who wants to can just click on that link.
They have a Linktree location with all their links. If you can figure that one out.
Awesome.
I hope I didn't bug people too much.
Oh no, not at all. But
And if you want to fuck with the evangelicals, tell them their 7 mountains dominionism is the 7 mountains that the Antichrist will found his city on.
I live around a lot of Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses, and when I have cameras, and when I see them coming, I literally light up a bowl or a joint, and I stand in front of my house. And I awkwardly stare at them as they walk right past my house. It's been working lately for everybody.
They just send pamphlets in the mail now.
They don't even try.
Well, it's one of the advantages of living in a security building. They can't get to my front door.
The Jehovah's, they've got the clue, but the Mormons are deep here, so they don't care. They'll skip right past my house because they have a ton of other people they can go to.
If I have a heads up that the Mormons or the JWs are in my neighborhood, I will strip down naked and answer the door that way, and invite them to come in and talk about Satan.
I did that with the UPS guy. I did that with the UPS guy, I think 12 years ago, and still to this day, they leave a package on my porch, which is like 6 feet away from my front door.
I think I'm going to have to wrap this up here, though. Is what I mean. I'm already running down.
Well, I apologize for dominating, but I just
felt no. You added something very valuable.
You were great.
In fact, I let it be known that Skitscrasher is henceforth recognized and accepted as a prismatist in the Church of the Prismatic Light.
All right.
Awesome. Very good. Very good.
Put the link in the chat.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mage put the link in the chat. It's up there for everyone. So, okay, let's just do a final wrap up here. Skits, you have any final words?
Thank you so much for inviting me on. It was great to be here and meet y'all and talk.
Well, anytime, and I appreciate that you've been a contributor and been sending me a couple bucks every month and sent all those cat toys.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. And the surprise one then when you're just taking out the box.
It's nice meeting you. This is my first time.
Yeah. Sammy is still not sure how to still not sure what to make of the thing swimming around in the sink. He'll sit
I'm
up
glad
there
that-
for about 15, 20 minutes at a time and watch it, but he doesn't know what to do with it.
This is entertaining.
Yeah. Okay, Mage, you have any final words?
Popcorn. Okay, that's it.
Delicious.
Piggy, 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 boo. Boo, 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 piggy, boo. Anyway.
Well, go ahead, Diana. What have you got to say?
I have taprega patotia tarastate petonia balcosente akanimina. I have no idea what that means.
So, yeah. More power to you.
Yeah, I don't have a translator up.
No babel fish?
Well, real-time captions is not helping much either.
Oh
Been
my!
great.
Okay.
I haven't looked at the closed captioning on my thing. What does it do to me, or does it just sit there and say,
No, baby. Real-time caption is not helping.
Okay, Jenny, I'd wondered why you disappeared before having a final say.
Someone got crackly. Is it me?
Jenny, you have anything else to say? Oh,
That's
no.
Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny's mic is breaking up.
Wow.
Yeah, Jenny, you might need to step out and come back again, Jenny.
I don't know what happened there.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Well,
It
okay.
is again, it is full. It is full and it is full.
Okay, so Will.
Sorry. I had to put a J out for this one. For those who don't know, I am Godless Sewing of the Godless Sewing channel. Go subscribe to the Godless Sewing channel. Right now, I have a video up. I can't remember the name because I've been smoking this entire time.
Phil.
And I want to thank to all my new subscribers. As always, don't forget to tip your waitress on the way out. And I'm probably going to make a Klingon flag in my next video. I'm a non-religious, non-political atheist. Check me out. Godless Sewing, Godless Sewing. I'm all about blasphemy and mayhem.
Not gonna lie, I'd look forward to that part of these meetings every time.
Thank you. I put a vest.
You have
on.
your fan club here, Skits.
I felt like you weren't getting the full Godless Sewing experience. It's hockey playoffs, so I'm like staring at the TV.
Well, I do
But we
appreciate
lost.
Skits that you brought a couple new people over that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, two good friends of mine.
Awesome.
They're great people.
Hell yeah.
Okay, Jenny, how are you now?
Hello.
Hey,
Is there anybody in there? Oh, it's not bad of an echo.
just not if you can hear me.
I'm fixed. StreamYard.
Okay. Yeah.
Skitscratcher, are you single?
I am.
Okay, I'm gonna chase you for a while.
No.
Just so you know.
Oh wait, Sydney, run! Ah! No.
Okay, Jenny, you have any last words?
Well, 407 years ago. Okay, I'll next. No, I don't. I let's see. There's bees. Toxic trends, whatever show coming up.
Yep.
Isn't that tomorrow? Saturday? I forget.
Now, doesn't you normally do that one on Monday? Isn't Monday and Wednesday evenings that be usually streams?
Is it Monday, Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the memory's not as good as it used to be. But I'll be on that, and of course we'll be on the perp show on next Wednesday at noon. And other than that, I'm just making it up. Come and see me on Twitter.
Okay, yeah, and I'll be on with the shills on Saturday at 6. And next week again, Wednesday at noon and Thursday at 10 p.m. Central Time on all those.
Really quick, I forgot. I'm gonna be on Black Sofa's channel, so everyone go check out Black Sofa every Thursday in America time. That's 2 o'clock my time, so 5 o'clock Eastern. Check out Black
Okay.
Sofa.
Yep, every Thursday.
Yeah, every Thursday. Mike's awesome.
I have a thought. When does the new crew do their movie night?
It's now being Saturdays at 10:30 Central.
Saturdays, okay, because I was having a thought that I might want to do something for Jeff's birthday, which is the 19th.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't want to step on them because I didn't want to create any animosity or anything.
Well, I would just check with Cy Stripling.
Oh, thank you, Cash Queen for subscribing. Thank you very much.
Sir Little Wolf, aroo!
What's up?
Yep, we always appreciate new people here. So I'd also like to thank my Patreon subscribers: Skits Crasher, Jyuni the Apostate, Ox, Robert X, Lavender Lady, Greg
Who the hell
Hurtwick,
is
and
that?
Dog. So appreciate y'all, sending me a bit to help each month. Paid my internet bill this month.
Okay, then that's a good
Awesome.
thing.
So with that, we will wish you all a good night and catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good luck.